The inflation has cropped up as a big issue in the last 6 months. And for a while, the Federal Reserve was saying transitory, this is transitory, this is transitory. But they're starting to think this is going to become more of a long-term thing.
Hi, everybody. David Meilan, Director of Investor Relations with Nighthawk Equity here. Thanks so much for joining. Today, I'd like to cover a term that everybody knows. It is also very closely linked to real estate investing. That term is inflation. As always, another episode with Drew Kniffin here. Drew, can you tell us a little bit about what inflation is and how it relates to real estate investing?
So inflation is the rise in the cost of things, or said differently, the dollars in your hand are worth less, right? So 5 years of inflation at 5% means if you had $100, in 5 years, it's only worth $70. $30 have disappeared, essentially. Now, real estate, our favorite asset class, acts as a natural hedge or defense against inflation because the cost of living is one of the biggest components of inflation. So the cost of living is going up, but we are renting out living to people, then we're actually winners in that inflationary environment. So yeah, inflation, you have a natural hedge against that when you're in real estate.
So we hear a lot of good things and a lot of bad things about inflation. Overall, is it safe to say that the inflation we've seen as of late is a net positive for real estate investors?
Yeah, I think that on the whole, it is fair to say that it's a good thing for real estate. Real estate is historically one of the asset classes that has benefited the most from inflation. So there's pros and cons to it. As a negative, you could say that the cost of doing construction or renovation on the property might cost more. It might cost more to do the landscaping. But the expenses are a smaller portion of the whole picture than the revenue from tenants. So overall, we think of inflation as being positive. But you don't just have to take my word for it. Let me share with you a little bit about a quote that we got from the Wall Street Journal. So owners of residential and commercial real estate, the Wall Street Journal said, are often better off during times of rapid inflation than owners of stocks or bonds. And inflation makes construction more expensive. So on the one hand, that can be sort of a bad thing, as I said before, but it also makes it hard for your competition to build new properties and compete with you. So in that sense, inflation can also help you as an apartment building investor. So overall, we think of it as a positive thing as owners of multifamily real estate.
So overall, a good thing for owners of multifamily real estate. Now, that's great and everything, but do we expect this trend of rising inflation to continue? And for how long? And does anyone really have a good idea of how long it should continue other than the Federal Reserve?
Not even the Federal Reserve has a good idea how long it's going to go on for. The inflation has cropped up as a big issue in the last 6 months. And for a while, the Federal Reserve was saying transitory, this is transitory, this is transitory. They've just started dropping that word from their communications. They're starting to think, this is our interpretation, but they're starting to think this is going to become more of a long-term thing. But we think so too. And again, that's going to be a bad thing if you keep cash just in your pockets, but it's a good thing if you're invested in quality inflation hedged asset classes like multifamily.
All right. Thanks so much, Drew. Guys, Michael has this awesome tool out there on how to calculate inflation as well as calculating its effects on real estate investing. If you've got interest in learning more about that, go ahead and download that tool. You can visit the link of themichaelblanc.com/inflation, and you can play around with that. And it's got a lot of great resources for you there. So other than that, thanks so much for joining. We'll see you on the next video, and have a good rest of your day, guys.